And we are live in 5, 4, 3.
Hey, and welcome to Baking with Chickens. I'm Christina, and this is the show where I bake using eggs from my backyard chickens. And you're probably wondering, why did I just put an egg into the hole in the ground? And no, I am not trying to grow more chickens, but I will explain to you why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. And I'm also going to show you how to make one of my favorite brunch recipes, Julia Child's cherry clafouti. So, come on down with me to the kitchen. I'm going to grab these eggs and let's make some clafouti. You ready, Lady Olga Berry? Okay, come on. So you're probably wondering who Julia Child is. Julia Child is an American television icon and cookbook author who wrote The Art of French Cooking. She had this amazing TV shows from the 1960s to the 1990s, and you probably know her because she's a freaking legend. So I'm gonna go show you how to make her clafouti recipe. Let's go. So what I love about Julia Child is that she had this great quote that said, "The only stumbling block to cooking is the fear of failure." And sometimes you've just got to have a what the hell attitude. And that's what we do here. We say, what the hell, and we go for it, and that is all buck, buck, bake. So, welcome to Baking with Chickens, everybody. Happy Sunday, and thanks for joining me. I hope you are having a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me today. Today we are double streaming on YouTube and Instagram Live. So if you are watching us here on YouTube, we have a live chat. Mr. Baking with Chickens is monitoring the live chat. Please join in. Tell us who you are, tell us your name, let me know you're here, give me a what's up, and tell me what you had for breakfast. Yeah, I want to know what you had for breakfast. I had a cup of coffee, and that is it. If you are watching here on Instagram Live, you are our live studio audience. How freaking cool is that? So we're trying something new today. So if you're watching on Instagram Live, you'll see a dual screen. You are our live studio audience, and you are getting the behind the scenes action of all of this. You see Mr. Baking with Chickens over there doing his thing. Our friend Casey's here running second camera. And then underneath on the bottom, you see what's on YouTube. So if you want to join in and watch the entire YouTube feed on a big screen, tap into my link in bio and just go to my YouTube channel, and you can watch and join in on the chat. On Instagram Live, I am sorry, I cannot check in on your comments because I can't see them. We're figuring it out. But hey, at least we got a behind the scenes this time.
I can see them.
Hey, Mr. Baking with Chickens can see him. So Mr. Baking with Chickens is on the comment feed. He's logged in as Mr. Baking with Chickens. Say hi, what's up? Tell me what you had for breakfast. Welcome. So today I'm going to show you how to make cherry clafouti. This is Julia Child's recipe for cherry clafouti that's adapted from the New York Times. The recipe link is in the description below. Grab it if you want to see it. It's on my site, bakingwithchickens.com. And while you're down there, hit like, subscribe, tell a friend, tell them to join in because sharing is caring. Any other housekeeping that I missed, Mr. Baking with Chickens? Who do we have here with us?
Well, we have Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea.
And then let's see who we've got. Oh, wow. We've got Chelsea on Instagram Live. Cool.
I like it. I like the dual
Okay.
watching. You can totally dual watch, by the way. You can do both, and you can see the magic of both.
Let's see. I know there were other people on the IG when I first turned it on, but...
All right. Well, we'll get there. Cool.
Yeah.
Chelsea, what'd you have for breakfast? Tell us what you had. All right. So I'm going to show you how to make Julia Child's clafouti recipe. And Julia Child was famous for making French food really accessible. And she said, you know, it's not fancy, it's not anything. You just cook really good food with great ingredients. And that's what we do here. So cherry clafouti is one of my absolute favorite desserts because it is so much easier to make than what the name implies and what the finished dish is. So it looks so much more impressive, and yet it's a very easy dish to make. You can make it for breakfast, for brunch, or it makes a really great dessert. So, let me pull this out of the oven.
Marilyn Cassidy is here.
Hey, Marilyn.
We've got Heidi Fossey.
Hi, Heidi.
We've got Clumsy Cakes.
Hi, Clumsy Cakes.
Oh, Marilyn had poached eggs. Heidi had homemade breakfast burritos.
Ooh.
Clumsy cakes. Hey, I'm excited I caught this one. I missed the last one. I was so bummed.
Aww.
And Chelsea says, Trav made us kale, steak, and sweet potato hash with cheese and fried eggs on top. Oh my God.
Dang, that sounds so good. Do any of you deliver? Because I didn't get breakfast.
Oh, Clumsy Cakes had a couple of soft-boiled eggs and a muffin. Oh, Dan's here. English muffin with cheese and eggs.
Nice, you guys. Right, so shall I show you how to do this recipe?
And we are
What happened there?
Ah, that's okay. Just hit the wrong camera.
All right, so let me show you how to get into this recipe because I'm going to try to keep this to a 1 hour show this time. All right, so all you really need to make this recipe is a blender. And if you don't have a blender, a bowl and a whisk is totally fine too. I have my Vitamix here, which is very handy. I won this Vitamix in the KCRW pie contest last year for my Seville orange marmalade pie. If you want to see how to make that, there is another recipe and an episode about how I made my award-winning pie, which is like a twist on a lemon meringue. But Mr. Baking with Chickens has wanted a Vitamix for a very, very long time, and I won him one. Look at that, except I use it more. But hey, look, we've got a shit in my kitchen segment.
Well, yes we
What?
do.
Come on, Mr. Bacon. All right, Vitamix, shit in my kitchen. So, Mr. Baking with Chickens has wanted one of these for so long. I mean, he was annoyingly annoying about it. And finally, I didn't want to buy one because they're so expensive, but I was able to win one, which was fantastic, even better because free things are always much nicer, especially when you win them. And you know what? I really, really like it. It has taken the place of our food processor. We make a lot of smoothies with it. You can make soups. Did you know the Vitamix can actually make hot things too? So if we throw everything in to make soup, you turn it all the way up to 10, and unlike a microwave, which uses infrared to heat things up, the Vitamix uses friction. So the friction of the blades spinning really, really fast is what heats something up to like almost boiling temperature. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
And.
coffee, lattes.
Oh yes, you can make do you have your little thingy so people can hear you?
No.
Yes. Okay.
We're going with.
You're gonna go project your voice.
Yep, I'm
Okay.
going to project my voice. So you can actually make coffee or a latte by using instant espresso powder, or you can do instant coffee powder, dump in the milk,
Just,
and get it going. The blades move so
that's
fast,
really cool.
they heat it like when you're making a soup. So you can have a hot latte like that.
Very cool. So that is another segment of Shit in My Kitchen, brought to you by Vitamix, not sponsored or paid, but we love them anyways. So hopefully one day somebody will sponsor this segment. So that's another Shit in My Kitchen. But I'm going to use my Vitamix today to make the klafuti because it's so easy, you guys. This recipe is the easiest thing in the entire world. Like, I have all of my ingredients here. I'm going to put them all in the blender, and that is it. So for all my ingredients, I've got 1 cup of flour into the blender. I've got a ½ cup of sugar in here. You can reduce the sugar. The original recipe from the New York Times had 2/3 of a cup. I cut it down to ½ cup because I like less sweet things. So up to you of what you would like. And then I've got 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, coarse salt. And I have an extra tablespoon of sugar here. I'm gonna set this aside because I'm gonna use this to sprinkle on top of the batter before we bake to make a nice crust, and you'll see why. All right, and then I have 1.25 cups of milk. The original recipe calls for whole milk or 2% milk. I'm using oat milk because that's what I have, but you can use anything. I think if you used whole milk, it would give you like a richer flavor. Oat milk's a little bit different. I mean, up to you really, what you would like. And then I'm gonna do a ½ teaspoon of vanilla extract. The recipe says, it said originally tablespoon. I was like, whoa, that's way too much. So I cut it down to a ½ teaspoon because I really want the cherries to sing, not an extract. So it's really your preference. I prefer to do a little bit less whenever possible. So, ooh, here's a fun fact. So Clafoutis, it's Clatouis. So it's French for, it comes from the verb clafir, which means to fill. And clafoutis is traditionally made with cherries, right? So whole cherries, actually. So I learned this from Game of Thrones, and this is going to be a little preview. I have some nerdy cherry facts for you. Technically, a traditional clafoutis is supposed to be made with whole, not pitted cherries. And the reason why is because the pits have an almond flavor. So when you bake them with the pits in it, it'll give it a beautiful almond scent in your clafoutis. I don't tend to like almond scents and almond extracts. You could totally use almond flour in place of regular flour if you want to try that. That would be really delicious. You could use almond extract instead of vanilla extract. But one of the things is I don't really want to eat a slice of clafoutis and avoid biting down on pits. So I prefer to use pitted cherries and use some extract whenever possible. But technically, the traditional cherry clafoutis has the whole cherries with the pits inside. And the cool thing about clafoutis is you can make it with any seasonal fruit. It doesn't have to be cherries, right? You can use raspberries, strawberries, pears, blueberries, anything you've got. But what we learned is a clafoutis made with anything other than cherries is technically called a...
It is called a flagnard.
A flagnard. Flagnard. My French is shit, so somebody correct me if I'm saying it correctly.
Flagnard.
And so is Mr. Bacon's with Chickens. You shouldn't trust his French either. But a flagnard is a clafoutis made with anything other than cherries. Heh, whatever. You do you. Who cares? And I don't think Julia Child would care either. She would say, use what you got. So we're using what we got. I am using these sour cherries from actually Heidi Fosse's tree. So I went to the store to try to find some fresh cherries, and you know what? It's a little too early for cherry season. Cherry season is typically May through July. So I had to improvise, and I have some of these frozen sour cherries that Heidi hooked us up with from her tree in Washington. So I just drained them, squeezed out some of the water, tossed in some sugar, and these are going to be delicious as well. But if you have sweet cherries, any variety of sweet cherry will do, Bing, Rainier, whatever. And if you don't have cherries, get some raspberries. That's what I had in my fridge as a backup. So, all right, so I'm using sour cherries. I threw all the stuff in my blender. And then, of course, 3 eggs. So I have eggs from pickleberry. This one is from burrito berry. And my beautiful blue egg from Miss Fizzleberry here. And I'm just gonna crack them into my blender. All right, I'm gonna do my one-handed egg crack again. Are you ready? You got 3 of these to catch them, Casey. And hopefully I don't get any eggshells in them. All right, so the key to doing a one-handed egg crack is confidence, and you crack your eggs on the counter, not on the side of the rim, because that's how you get eggshells. So when you crack it on the counter, it flattens it, and then you crack it, all right? So one solid crack, use your fingers to open that egg, and in. Check that out. All right, go.
Woo!
All right, oh, here's another tip for you too. So this is Baking with Chickens, our daytime Sunday show, but if you love my culinary cannabis, I've started including in all my recipes how to infuse it, if you're into cannabis, if you'd like to. So if I were to infuse this recipe, I would probably use a can of butter. So I would infuse my own can of butter, or I would buy like a can of sugar product that already exists and substitute in the can of butter or the can of sugar in with my butter and sugar in the regular recipe. If you're making stuff at home, I think any strains that have like a cherry, vanilla, or like a nutty type flavor would go really well. Strains that are high in caryophyllene, which have a caryophyllene terpene. And if you don't know what terpene is, watch my Baked with Chicken show and you'll learn what that is. It has a peppery flavor, so you'll recognize it from the pepperies, from black pepper. That would also pair really well. So that's a little preview of Baked with Chickens, my culinary cannabis show. You can catch that show on Sunday, every other Sundays at 7 p.m. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's a playlist. You'll see it says baked with chickens, and the thumbnails will have baked edition. So our first one was last week. Next week, we're gonna do cannabis pesto and cannabis pasta. I'm gonna show you how to infuse pasta. And in that show, I explain the science of cannabis and how it all works and in more detail. This show, I talk more about the science of baking and how to cook. So if you're to infuse, that's what you would do.
Yes.
Yes.
I completely forgot
What?
about, so that everybody can see where
Oh, yes.
you can find it on the YouTube
Yes.
page.
So if you go to my YouTube page, scroll down, there's a little playlist there, and you'll see there is, thank you, Miles, please wait, that's my dog. If you scroll down, you'll see there's some playlist, and there's baked with chickens. There's some intro basics to cooking and baking with cannabis. I have like the very first time using my Lebo machine if you want to check that out. But next Sunday at 7 p.m. is going to be our next baked with chicken show. All right, so now I've got everything in my blender. All we have to do is blend it for like a minute. You ready? So easy. Oh, wait, not for that. Ah. That's it. You just blend it up until it's nice and frothy. If you don't have a blender, you just use a whisk and a bowl. No big deal. You know what I love about this recipe is that it's not really exact and precise. You can kind of do whatever, right? Like I don't really measure as precisely with this because a little bit extra flour, you've got one that's more cakey. If you want one that's a little more custardy, you just use a little bit less. So this is one of those beautiful recipes where you don't really have to be exact, and there's so many variations of this recipe out there, you guys. Like I've tried all these different ones and they're all good. So what you do to bake your klafuti is you just kind of grab a shallow pan. Like I'm using a pie pan, but really whatever you got that's similar to this is good. And I have some melted butter in here. I pre-melted it and I'm just coating the pan so that it won't stick to the side. I'm being lazy, I don't want to use a brush, so I am going like this to tilt it. And then all you do is you grab your cherries. So sprinkle about 2/3 of your cherries down in the bottom here. My cherries kind of look a little wrinkly because I am using defrosted frozen sour cherries, but you know what? They're gonna be just as delicious. I probably wouldn't use dried cherries. It would give it a chewy texture that I wouldn't be into, but I think these will be just fine. I made a batch with raspberries earlier, and those were very delicious. I highly recommend that. You can also add any spices or herbs, right? This is a beautiful dish that you can experiment with. So with raspberries, I added a little cardamom. That was yummy. You could add cinnamon. With cherries, you could do a little sage. You could do some pepper. So if you want to add a savory element, it goes really well with, what else does cherries go well with? Ooh, hey, we got some nerdy cherry facts for you. So cherries, did you know, are part of the rose family. So apples, pears, almonds, those are also part of the rose family. And then as I mentioned a little bit earlier, so cherry pits, actually when you cook and bake with them, have an almond flavor. And that's what a traditional klafuti is made with, the whole cherries with the pits intact, so that it gives off that beautiful almond flavor into your dish. But I don't want to chew on pits, so that's why I like to pit them. I mean, it's really a preference. If you don't mind, you should try it. It's really cool. And you know where I learned this really cool fact, actually, about cherry pits having an almond flavor? Okay, you ready? Hot Pie from Game of Thrones. Who knew? Who knew? Hot Pie from Game of Thrones, the little chubby kid who's friends with Arya Stark who makes the direwolf bread, if any of you are Game of Thrones fans, has this moment where he talks about cherry pits. Who knew? Check that out. And you know what else we learned from TV? Because that's where we get all of our facts, and Mr. Baking with Chickens learns his history from TV, because Game of Thrones is apparently medieval history to him.
It's world history. It's world history.
Yeah. So in the show Ozarks, I'll let you tell it.
Yeah. So if any of you are Netflix fans, And chime in, please, on live comments, because I want somebody to make the connection. What's the connection between Cherry Pits and Ozarks on Netflix? It's Ozarks.
No,
There's no S. Casey's
Ozark.
sitting here trying to tell me there's an S. He told me to say it that way.
Okay, well.
No, but Ozark. Chime in on live stream if you know. If I need to give people a hint, then I'll give you a hint.
All right, I'm going to keep going for a little bit. Oh, any other cherry facts I missed? What else did I miss?
Let's see. Well, they belong to the rose
I got
family.
that,
You got
yeah.
that. The almond flavor. Oh,
Yes.
what they're great paired with.
Oh, yes, I forgot that. So savory, actually, cherries go really well with pork. So if you make a cherry sauce to go on top of pork or beef, very delicious. Cool, huh? What else does it pair with?
Well, it pairs with sage, chives, lemon verbena,
That's a nice one.
ricotta cheese.
Cherries and ricotta, that'd be yummy.
Yeah. Black pepper with the pork or beef is fantastic.
Super delicious.
And one more fact about cherries, that 4 states in the U.S. grow the majority of cherries. Washington, Oregon, California, and Michigan.
And
Internationally,
Hang on, and Michigan grows mostly the tart cherries that are like in the cans and all of that stuff. But like the sweet cherries that we eat are all Washington, Oregon, and California. And
however, these cherries, which are sour cherries, and really these are
these are magic. If you go to the sour cherries have a very, very short window of time, and these are very special. They're so delicious, and it has a totally different flavor profile than regular cherries. And if you go to the farmer's market and try to find that, get them. They're so, so good. So highly recommend. Thank you, Heidi, for hooking us up with these sour cherries.
yes, we get them every year from Eastern Washington, where Heidi has a cherry tree that grows these beautiful. So we bring them home.
Anyway, so the U.S. is one of the largest producers of cherries around the world, but the largest international grower and shipper of cherries is actually Turkey. Right? So cherries actually were grown over in the Asia Minor area, so it totally makes sense that Turkey has that climate where cherries grow very well.
You know, nobody's answered the Ozark. Okay, I'm going to give a hint.
Okay.
It has to do with poisoning. Darlene. Remember the character? And does anybody on watch Ozarks?
Okay, we're just gonna tell them because
I'm obsessed.
I know.
Clearly.
I can tell.
It's cherry pits have arsenic. So if you crushed them up and put them in someone's coffee, like Darlene did to her husband, they're the couple that ran the big opium field, that's how she killed him.
Oh, yes. So if you want to poison your husband, cherry pits is the way to go. Watch out, Mr. Basement Chicken. All right, cool cherry fun facts for you. So I sprinkled about my cherries down in the bottom of the pan, and then I'm just gonna take this batter here and just pour it into the pan. So pour it slowly so that it doesn't push all of the cherries out of the way, right? We want it to evenly fill in around. In the New York Times, it says you can pour it over the back of a spoon. That's one way to do it. Or, I just like to do it this way because that's one less dish I have to wash, and I don't enjoy washing dishes. So anything I can do to reduce the number of dishes. So this is it, you guys. You just pour it in, and then we're gonna pop it I'm gonna sprinkle some cherries on top, sprinkle sugar on top, and pop it in the oven. And that is it. And then when you bake it, it will puff up. So it's gonna get huge and puff up over the pan, but don't worry, that's exactly what it's supposed to do. It's not gonna spill over. And then when you take it out of the oven, it will depuff. So it'll come back down and be normal size again. Okay. Let me wipe my hands. All right, so now that I've poured this in, I'm gonna sprinkle the rest of my cherries on top. We're checking on comments, Mr. Baking with Chickens.
Yes, we have lots.
Questions? While I'm
We've got
doing
lots
this,
of
say
great
hi
comments.
to everybody. Happy Sunday. Hi Instagram. Hi YouTube. And if you're just chiming in here on Instagram, we do have a behind-the-scenes studio audience look over on Instagram Live. So you're probably seeing all the behind-the-scenes Mr. Baking with Chickens. On YouTube, you're seeing the show in its full glory. But if you want to check in on both, you can head over to YouTube channel, or you can check out my Instagram channel at Baking with Chickens.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, Marilyn is making this, and she's making a flagnard.
Nice. Marilyn, what is your flagnard? What fruit do you have?
Strawberries.
Yum. It is strawberry season. This is actually really beautiful with strawberries. And you know what strawberries would pair? Strawberries pair really well with rose. So if you have rose water, you could put a little bit of that. Or if you just have rose petals, Marilyn, if you're growing any roses in your backyard, you can take some of those petals, chop them up, and sprinkle them in. Rose and strawberry bring out each other's flavors.
And we've got, let's see. Oh, Heidi says, I have a ton more cherries to send home with you in July.
Yes, please.
Yes, our annual cherry stock up. Oh, Michelle has an interesting question. Oh, welcome, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Would cast iron work as
Yes.
a pan?
Absolutely, cast iron would totally work 100%. Okay, so I'm just grabbing, I have sugar here, my extra couple tablespoons of sugar, and I am just sprinkling them on top. And what this does is it makes a nice crackly top. I'm just using my superfine baker sugar. If you have coarse sugar, that totally works too. Whatever you got. Like I said, this is such a flexible recipe that it makes me very happy. This is how I like to bake, you guys. Just a little of this, a little of that. I bake like I cook. I'm not precise. I don't like to measure. So this is my happy recipe. And ooh, another fun fact for you. So I actually made a Kla-foo-tee for Mr. Baking with Chickens on our very first date, and that I used a Clafoutis to snag him. I burned his mouth in the while he ate it, but in the wisdom of Cher Horowitz, who said that you should always have something baking in the oven when a boy comes over, I decided to make a cherry Clafoutis because I literally decided an hour before he came over to pick me up for our first date because I was like, oh, I should definitely have something baking in the oven because again, the wisdom of Cher Horowitz. And if you don't know who Cher Horowitz is, shame on you, clueless. Okay?
Yeah, come on, TV watchers.
Movie, thank you.
So, can we take a moment? And there's lots of questions,
yeah.
and we're moving really fast.
Can we finish my story and then we'll go through that?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I made a Clafoutis because I wanted to have something baking in the oven when he came over, so it would smell nice. And it's like, hey, look at me, I'm such a catch. I know how to bake. Yep. And I gave him some, and it was still hot from the oven, and it burned his mouth. But look, he's still with me 11 years later. I think it's 11. We've lost track of time.
Yeah.
Something like that. And Casey was there too. Our friend Casey. He lived across the hall from me.
I was next door. I
Yeah.
smelled that.
Actually,
And what did you think, Mr. Aiken, when I fed you this beautiful cherry Clafoutis and burned your mouth? What did you think about me?
you know, honestly, I always forget about the burning the mouth because I was sort of totally enamored. I was like, oh my gosh, she can cook and bake and it's just, you know how that feels when somebody makes food for you. It's powerful.
It is.
It's
true.
It's a really great thing.
It's an expression of love when you cook somebody food.
It's
You're
true.
right.
And on another note, it's Casey. Oh, we don't have a behind the. Actually, we do have a behind the scenes. Wrong one. There it is. Casey here is how Christina and I met.
Yeah.
I was helping Casey move a couch into his apartment. He was across from yours.
I also baked Casey cookies, but he never really acknowledged them or thought I was that cool.
It
so
was
we
delicious. Thank you.
We might be the only ones interested in that story.
Yeah, that's good. Well, but okay, so the moral of the story is you should have something baking in the oven when you go on a first date with somebody. It's totally a thing, right? So if you've ever heard, what was it? I think, is it Cosmopolitan magazine? Has this, there's the famous lemon chicken recipe, right? The engagement chicken. You're supposed to make this lemon chicken for somebody you want to marry because it shows them that you can cook and it's super delicious and it makes them fall in love with you and want to marry you. Whatever, Google it, lemon chicken, engagement chicken. So I'm gonna call this first date Clafoutis because make this for somebody and they still might be around 11 years later. All right, comments.
Okay.
Well, I popped this in the oven.
Well, actually,
I'm gonna pop it in the oven.
okay.
Yeah, while you catch up on comments, it's all good.
Well,
Actually, I can preheat the oven. I didn't even preheat it. Oops.
oh boy.
Okay, go.
So, we've got, let's see here. Okay. Michelle has a question. What if you rehydrated dried cherries? Maybe with rum.
Oh yeah, that'd be super good.
Ooh.
Yes, I like Michelle. I like how you think.
Excellent
So,
idea.
in a lot of other recipes for Clafoutis, you can absolutely add a little splashy splash of rum, bourbon, whiskey, whatever. So yes, you could totally rehydrate dried cherries in some booze and then sprinkle it in, and then you've got yourself a boozy Clafoutis, which is even more fun.
Boozy.
I've got.
Casey said claboozy.
Heidi has a really interesting fact.
Yes.
Did you know cherry orchards hire helicopters to dry out cherries after it rains so the stems don't cause rot through the pits?
Wow.
That's really cool. I did not know that. That makes sense though, because they've got that little divot. You don't want the. That seems like a lot of work.
Oh, Michelle says, dude, spoiler alert. I mean, I thought everybody
Sorry.
had caught up on Ozark, but you don't want me to tell you what happens at the end of season 4, do you? Okay, I won't. Let's see. Next is. Oh, that's crazy that the cherries don't float to the top, says Clumsy Cakes. Kind of thought they would.
What?
Oh, Michelle says clueless, heart.
Yes, thank you. See, cool.
Oh, the cherries didn't. Let's get on that. Let's see what this looks like.
What about the floating on top? So there's cherries on the bottom. So I sprinkled cherries on the bottom. I poured in the batter, and then I put cherries on top. So it's about 2 cups of cherries total that you sprinkle on. And then fresh cherries would do fresh cherries would do the exact same thing. Maryland's got the same thing going. Yeah, I mean it's basically like a custardy flan-like batter. So it is going to float and sink, but that's why you sprinkle the ones on the top. And if you want to see a tip, so in my very first episode of Baking with Chicken, strawberry banana bread, so if you're making something like a bread where it's a lot higher than this, you want to toss your fruit in a little bit of flour so that it helps it float in the batter instead of sink. You don't need to do that here, but you should check out that episode. If you've got some bananas and you want to do a little twist on banana bread, strawberry banana bread. Strawberry season is right now, it's coming up. There's some really delicious strawberries at your farmer's market. Cherries are coming up next month. Raspberries tend to be towards the end of summer, like all the berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, pears, apples, those are more winter things. So I highly recommend, use seasonal fruit. Don't buy, out of season stuff. It kind of sucks. But if you've got, cool frozen things that were from in season, that also works as well.
We've got a couple people. Chelsea said she appreciated the Clueless reference, and she said, no, I love the story. And Marilyn said, totally cute story. And then Michelle says, my hubby's first meal that he made for me
Tell me it was Kla-foo-tee.
was shake and bake.
You know what? I love a good shake and bake.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure Mr. Bacon Chicken's made me shake and bake at one point.
That is not true.
I love shake and bake.
No, I mean, I guess I did without the
I don't know.
buying. I probably did the homemade
You might have
version.
been. I don't know. But we're going to move
But
on.
shake and bake is special.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Okay.
And, so while we wait for the oven to continue to preheat and bake this, we have some nerdy egg facts for you. Because you saw me putting an egg into a hole in the ground, and I promised to tell you what the heck that was all about. So, egg in the hole. So what am I doing? So I've got all these eggs that I can't eat because I had to give the chickens dewormers. So I'm actually planting them into the ground to grow a chicken. No, I'm kidding, totally kidding. I am using them as fertilizer for my plant. So I'm planting a tomatillo plant and using the egg at the bottom of the hole. So as the egg decomposes over time, it's gonna provide calcium and fertilizer and food for my plant. So it helps them grow bigger and stronger and give them food. Cool, huh? Because I was really stressing about what to do with all of these eggs that I can't use and eat, and I don't want to throw them away because that's wasteful. So I am using them for fertilizer in the ground, and that's little Olga Berry there. Also, you can take your eggshells and boil them in water, and that will help pull out the calcium into the water. And then you use that water to water your plants, especially tomatoes, right? Plants that really love calcium will benefit from this. So I just boil it, let the water cool before you pour it on your plants, because you don't want to pour boiling hot water for your plants, you'll kill them. I strain out all of those eggshells and then save it, and then I'll just use the eggshells for something else. You can sprinkle your eggshells around your plants. You can put them into your compost pile. So yeah, there you go. I'm watering the plants with that calcium water. You can sprinkle it around. Crushed eggshells are also good to deter snails and slugs, because as they're crawling on top of it, and it kind of like, they're sharp and it hurts. So I throw it around, cover it with mulch, and we've got a nice snail deterrent. Yeah. So save your eggshells, you guys. There's so many uses for them. They're really good in your garden. They're good for your plants. Composting them is a great way to use them. If you have eggshell hats, like I just did, you can also fill them with dirt and use them as seedling starters. So I'm filling my little eggshells with dirt. I'm going to pop some seeds in them, and hopefully I'll get some seedlings that I can grow. So don't throw them away, you guys. Those are like, it's gold. You're like throwing away like money when you're throwing away eggshells. So keep your eggshells. Crush them. You can also put them in your coffee. When you're brewing coffee, if you throw in some clean eggshells, the eggshells reduce the acidity of your coffee. So I like that tip. That's a really handy one. All right, so my oven still isn't preheated, but you know what? Fortunately for you, I already have one that I made a little earlier. Voila! Look at that beautiful Kla-foo-tee. So when this bakes, you want it to be golden around the edges. So you see how the sugar kind of made this beautiful, like, crackly top? And then it'll be like, this was like puffed up to here. It was like twice the size, and it was huge. And you think it's going to spill over, but it won't. And as it cools down, the center is going to deflate like this to kind of make this thing. It looks a lot like a Dutch baby, if you've ever had one of those. Mr. Bacon Chickens is also especially good at making Dutch babies. Those are very delicious. But you're going to have like golden around the edges, and then I like to turn my pan in the oven to evenly golden the edges, and that's it. You let it cool for a little bit, and then when it's cool, right before you serve it, you just sprinkle it with some powdered sugar for decoration. So not a lot. If you sprinkle it before and you let it sit, the powdered sugar is going to absorb into it and it won't look as pretty. So if you are making it to serve later, I would say wait until before serving to put your powdered sugar on. But there you go. So if you have a sifter, you could use a sifter. I just use one of these because I don't like, again, I am anti-gadget and I don't like buying things I don't need. Okay. And you go like this. Make it rain, make it snow. Make it snow some powdered sugar, however much you want, and voila! Kla-foo-tee. Check that out. Now I get to eat breakfast because I haven't eaten anything. Ooh, Casey, I bet you would like to have a piece.
I'd hit that.
Ooh, let me put this one in the oven. There we go. Okay. So I just put it in the middle oven, middle rack. That's it. Bake for about 50 to 55 minutes on 350 degrees. There's another recipe that was 400 degrees, and I didn't like that because it burned the bottom of the Kla-foo-tee. So 350 is better. If you are infusing this with cannabis, again, check out Baked with Chickens if you want to learn more about the science of cannabis and how to cook. You would reduce the baking temp to 340 and increase the baking time. And if you want to know why, check out Baked with Chickens and you'll learn why we do that. All right, where's my knife? Knife. You want to catch up on some comments while I slice us all a little piece?
Yes.
Chicken.
You know what we haven't done? We haven't given a shout out to our Instagram friends.
Oh, hey Instagram friends. Thanks for watching, you guys, my live studio audience.
I'm just going to give a general shout out to people I see. Hirsch Laurie, Shelly Marie 82, John Gold, TC Nagano, Cocolish Food, Ruby Virginia, Cool Chicks and Chickens, Don CS, Avery's Flock and Friends, Micklitz, Kuchen Labor, Roxy and the Hens.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in on Instagram Live. If you're watching on Instagram Live, you are seeing the behind the scenes action of our live YouTube show. If you're watching on YouTube, we've got a live chat going on there. So this is our first time doing a studio audience behind the scenes view on IG Live. I hope you like it. Give us some feedback. What do you think about our graphics here? Can you hear us? Can you see us? All of that good jazz. So I am cutting us each a piece of this beautiful Kla-foo-tee. So you'll see, like here, I'm not even showing you. So here, come in for a close look here. Where are you, Casey? There. All right, so this is the cross section of Kla-foo-tee, right? Like, so you've got this kind of like flan-y-like texture here, and then you've got the fruit floated and suspended within. If you have more flour, it's just gonna be thicker and more cakey-like. If you have a little bit less. So again, like your proportions, it's still delicious. It doesn't have to be perfect and exact, and that's what I love about this recipe. This is something that you shouldn't be afraid of trying. If you mess it up, it's still gonna taste really, really, really good. There's really no messing it up. You can't. I mean, I've done all different things, and if you put a little too much milk, it's just gonna be a little thinner and runnier. If you put too much flour, it's just gonna be thicker and cakier, and it's just really your preference. And in the spirit of Julia Child, you just gotta have a what the hell attitude. You just try it, you go for it, you eat it, and it's delicious. All right, you guys wanna try this?
All right, that's my arm.
Magic, Mr. Bakey with chickens. Here you go, here you go. See.
Whoa.
All right. Marilyn, I hope yours is going really well. You're probably still baking because you didn't pre-make one. I haven't tried it with the sour cherries. I'm really excited. So it's got a really soft, totally like, what would you describe it? Like a flourless cake, custardy kind of
Very
thing?
custardy, yeah.
Yeah. The sour cherries are great in this because I tend to not like overly sweet things. So the sour cherries give it tartness that's very different than when with normal cherries. And you know, this is a pretty plain recipe. It's just flour. You saw what I put in it. It's flour, it's sugar, salt, cherries, milk, eggs. That's it. But if you wanted to get fancy, I'm sure Julia Child would absolutely appreciate it if you wanted to add some savory elements and herbs into it. So a little sage, a little bit of, you know, I think like cinnamon, some cardamom would be really yummy. But be brave. Try different things. Try different combinations. You know, if you're doing blueberries, I think blueberry and thyme would be really yummy. If I were doing this again, I might steep the milk in lemon verbena to get that lemon verbena and cherries, which would brighten it all up. So, you know, Julia Child's recipe was very traditional. It was very French cooking. You know, what Julia captured the hearts and minds of everybody on television because of her just approachable personality. And you know, at the time, French cooking was really intimidating, and she made it so easy for people to understand. And so now, you know, we are making so many different things. We're cooking with cannabis. We're pairing with different flavors, and I think she would really love that. So this is Kla-foo-tee, and I hope you guys can make it at home and you can try it. Check that out.
You know what it reminds me of? It's like bread pudding without the cubes of bread.
Yeah,
I like it.
super delicious.
Yeah.
I would even like sprinkle some salt on top. I think that would be good too. Ooh, I'm gonna do that. What a salt would be. Crack some salt on it and see how that tastes. Because you know me, less sugar, more salt. Let's see. No, that's a little weird. Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. It's not bad, but it's a little weird. And I'm sure if the French are looking at me like, what is wrong with you? No, you're ruining our beautiful classic dish.
No sal.
It's very good. All right, so
Well,
any other last comments to catch up on? Any questions, you guys, that you have? Because look at this. We're keeping it to an hour this time.
45. I feel like when you were doing the blender, How would people do this at home?
So how you would do it at home is you get yourself a whisk and a giant bowl and you pour it all in and you just whisk it really, really fast. That's it.
And Marilyn, I'm setting this up for you.
Ah.
There's a little stream delay, so it'll take me a moment to see your comment, but I think you know the powers you have. Oh, Chelsea asks, what about bananas as the fruit and a salted caramel drizzle on top?
That would be really good. I think that would be delicious. Why not?
I think that is good. Also, Michelle has been very, very adept at pointing out some audio things as we're going.
Thank you, Michelle.
You know, here's what, oh, you know what? Marilyn is probably pulling it out of her oven right now.
It bakes for about an hour. Probably, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, you've got
Oh,
some time,
there,
Marilyn.
There it is. We've got a big stream delay, so.
Yeah.
Would you say that you would whip it real good?
I would whip it.
I say whip it. Whip it good. I say whip it. Whip it good.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Oh my gosh, you guys. This is Baking with Chickens. I'm Christina, your host. Thank you for watching on this very beautiful Sunday. Oh, anyone on Instagram Live there that we missed? Comments, all the stuff. Michelle, Tiffany, John, everybody who's watching. Mickey, Ding Brando, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me on a very beautiful Sunday. I hope you enjoyed this Kla-foo-tee recipe. Comments?
Nope.
Cool.
We've got, well, Dieter Meg joined.
Awesome.
And Hives Love, Faye Tobacay joined. I love that.
Avery's vlog. Thank you everybody for watching another beautiful Sunday baking episode of Baking with Chickens. Tune in next week, Sunday at 7 p.m. for the 21 plus edition of the show, Baked with Chickens, the culinary cannabis version where I show you how to cook and bake using cannabis to make your own edibles. And I will be making cannabis leaf pesto and the cannabis leaf pressed pasta that I made and won for the Elevate Jane competition. So not a dessert, not baking, but I'm gonna show you off some savory cooking skills. Ooh, excuse me.
And we will be rejoining with Baking with Chicken Sunday morning on the 16th.
Yes, so we are going to take a week off because we're tired. And it's Mr. Baking with Chicken's birthday. It's also Mother's Day weekend. So we're going to have, next week will be Baked with Chickens. The week after that on Mother's Day, we're going to take the week off. And then we're going to see Heidi. No, we're going to see Dan and Chelsea.
And Travis.
And Travis. Awesome.
And Cherry.
And Cherry. Very cool.
Clafoutis.
Cherry for the Cherry Clafoutis. And then we'll catch up with you again on May 16th for an episode of Baked Chicken. So I think we're going to try doing this where we're going to split up like one Baking with Chickens at 11 and then the next week will be Baked with Chickens at 7 p.m. So we're going to keep it on Sundays. Let us know what you guys think, if there's better times, better days. But we want to keep it easy and keep it on Sundays. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Thank you to my live studio audience here on Instagram Live. You guys are amazing and have a great weekend. Bok bok bake, everyone.
And just for posterity's sake, we're going to go out on...
I say whip it. Whip it good.